All right. Hello, Pisces. How's everybody doing today? Thankfully, no construction noises since I'm up a little bit earlier for you guys. Appreciate all of you that waited a couple extra minutes. I did get up a little later this morning because although I've adjusted, it's still early to try to get up at 3 or 4 in the morning. So I see someone here mentioning that they love this time. I'm only doing it until I move, but it's probably going to be another month or two that I'll stick with this early time. So thank you everybody for joining me. This is my little furry assistant, Apollo. My name is Nicholas Ashbaugh, and we're going to take a look at the next 6 to 8 weeks for you and really help you navigate all the opportunities in front of you. Because I was running a couple minutes late, we're going to light the candles together, which I actually think is an advantage because it helps us set intentions. So let's do that first, and then we'll get into the setup of what's going on for today. All right? So this is actually a really good practice to do anytime you're going to be working with things metaphysically, because it just helps you tune in. So it's early where I'm at. So you could imagine like the moon shining on you, could imagine the sun shining on you, but connect to a celestial ray of light, close your eyes, and just set an intention right now that you are going to connect to the highest light and only to the highest light possible. Call in protection. We're going to do some additional protection in just a moment when I use some of the other candles here, but just set that intention to be a clear channel and receive the highest light. Connecting with the energy of the divine, whatever you might call that. And that intention has been set. Okay, let's light the rest of the candles and then we'll get started. I also like to connect with the energy of Archangel Michael, which is really great at protecting us. So Archangel Michael, please hear our prayer. Allow for protection to be a part of today's reading, which will allow us to just surrender and connect to the highest energy. So that intention has been set. Archangel Gabriel, hear our prayer. Allow us to be connected to, again, that higher energy. Most importantly, we're all channels, so allow us to be a clear channel. For me, I want to be able to say the right things at the right time so that that message gets through to you. For you, you want to be open and have your filters open so that not only today, but every day of your life, you can see the messages, understand the direction, and decide what you want to do with that. Let's see. We did, okay, Uriel. Archangel Uriel, help us be organized, help us get in touch with what we need to in our power centers, because we are going to be looking at power for you today, and help us be the strongest version of ourselves. And then for those of you that need healing, let's call in Archangel Raphael to facilitate that healing. All right, thank you to all of you for being present. Thank you to all of the guides, ascended masters, and angels for also helping us today. And that is everything. All right, let me grab a glass for my water and then we're going to get started. All right, so as I'm getting everything set up on this table, let me just remind you of what's in store today. So we're going to begin with the Celtic, well actually not the Celtic Cross, the channeled messages. Channeled messages come through in dreams. And today I had some really interesting, two very visual sort of representations of what we're going to talk about in my dreams. I was shown this beautiful gigantic house that was empty, and then I also was shown a ruby on a ring here. And that's not, I don't actually think I've ever seen that particular totem. We haven't worked with a ruby before, and it's a beautiful message. So we'll be talking about those two channeled messages and how they relate to you. And that's why I was taking a couple of extra minutes, because I was researching some things on the ruby. Then we'll go into the Celtic Cross. It's exactly what you would expect. We're going to look at whatever the universe wants to bring through. I don't theme it for love. I just keep it open-ended, so whatever needs to come through on a soul level will. We'll look at health, wealth, love, and destiny in the expanded forecast. Everything else is here. One thing that I'd like to remind you is to hold your questions until the end. There's a place where we can do a silent question. We'll have some interactive elements where we also vote on things, and I also now highlight sun, rising, and moon towards the end, so stick around for that. If you would like to chat and you're watching live, please hit the subscribe button and you'll be able to do that after a short period of time. It's also just a great way to stay in touch. It costs nothing and it ensures that this channel will grow. When I hit the next milestone, which will be 325, I believe, At that, I will open up Q&A, and then all the members will get a chance to submit some questions. If you would like to stay in touch and know what's coming through next on, for as far as a reading goes, join me on social media. Usually the day before, if not the day of, I always remind you of the next reading. And if you'd like to show some support in real time, you can do it with super stickers and super chat. There's also a thanks option on replay, so whatever works for you, thank you very much in advance. All right, let's get into your channeled messages. Let me get my presentation set up. We'll take it from there. Thank you, everybody, for being patient last month as we were dealing with construction noises. It was for this sign that I made that sort of decision for everybody. I'm like, we have to move this, even if it's a little bit challenging for me. I have to do it earlier so you didn't hear all the hammering. I remember it was Pisces where we were dealing with that. So thank you so much for being lovely about it last month. I really couldn't control that. All right, we've got the presentation up here. Let's talk about your messages for the month ahead. So I saw a ruby, and then I also saw this beautiful house, which we'll talk about. I didn't highlight it here, but really the ruby is going to help us connect with both the heart and the root chakra. And I was curious why, and I was like, oh, because the color can be pink too. Rubies, depending on how much chemical makeup they have of like chromium or something like that, it can basically make it more red or more pink. So let's talk about this and see what it means for you. First of all, they're pretty strong. Diamonds are stronger, but it's only two other minerals that are going to be a little bit tougher on the Mohs scale. So that actually portends good things. That's why I highlighted the strength card here. One of the things to think about here is that maybe you don't always see yourself as the strongest person, and maybe others have told you that you're not. But this particular totem comes through to say, you know what, you can actually handle more than you think. You can take on more than other people may realize, and you can use that level of surprise to your advantage, particularly for other people, because if they don't know what you're capable of, you can really hit something out of the park when it comes to a competition, a presentation, and also just having fun and making a change in your life that people were like, where did that come from? Or how did you do this? And you just smile and you know inside that you always had the capacity. So one of the best ways to overcome people who lack faith, lack vision, are not supportive, is not to argue. It's not to try to get them to see it your way. It's simply to succeed and show them that they really didn't see what was possible, okay? So develop a thicker skin, easier said than done, but if you can basically just bite your tongue for a moment and think about what you're about to say before you say it, it's going to serve you very well over the next month. Okay, we're almost out of retrograde. It's a couple more weeks, but it's still going to help you through next month because it's hard to put things back in the box, like the myth of Pandora, right? Once it's opened, it's open. Or the Ten of Swords, once those words or those actions have been spilled, they've been spilled. So this strength can also be your own inner strength, and you can be sort of deciding, I'm not going to say this, I'm not going to do this, I'm going to wait, okay? Interesting thing when we're just looking at the strength cards, since I pulled that as something to highlight here, the older you get and the more life experiences you have, the more you realize that if you have to get someone to agree with you, or if you're trying to force them to do something, you're really kind of going counter to the flow of the universe. There may be a better conduit, a better connection for you. So if there is a friend and you're always having to kind of either initiate your connections, or if you're talking, it feels like there's this tug of war, you always have to explain yourself, or you're trying to control, which is really what we see in the strength card, someone else, it's not the best use of your time and energy. You can save your strength, save your energy, and basically invest it in something that's more worth your time, okay? So focus on surprising others, focus on building your energy up, focus on really deciding, do I want to put this energy here? And that's going to serve you well. You have more inner strength than you may realize. Moving to the pinkish energy, even though the heart chakra is green, it still works. Pink is another color associated with the heart. So find creative, artistic, and tangible ways to express yourself. and to connect with that heart chakra. It doesn't mean that you have to become an artist overnight, but it does mean that, even if you do something as simple as dancing or, maybe journaling, scribbling things down, talking things out, talking about your hopes and fears with a friend or even a doctor, doesn't matter, like a therapist, just getting that sort of energy that's built up in here out somehow is going to be really important to giving you some balance, because those are the two areas that are showing blockages. And standard disclaimers apply here. I'm not a doctor, but when we're looking at energies, you don't want the heart chakra to be blocked because that affects blood flow. That's our sort of, that's the most important part of our body, really, because if the heart's not beating, then nothing else is going to be working. So we want to keep this area open. It's kind of interesting that chakra number 1, which we'll be talking about next, has to do with that sort of feeling that, actually, did I put it? No, I didn't put it here. Here it is, the root chakra. So the root chakra has to do with feelings of safety and security. And sometimes we are made to feel insecure about the things that we love or the things that are connecting us to something higher, to our higher calling. So I want you to, in this point of your life, particularly if you're an adult, hopefully everyone that's watching is 18 and older, but if you're 18 or if you're living with parents or family, sometimes it's difficult to be yourself because they're still there and they're still trying to tell you what they want you to do. And that love can actually kind of envelop you and not allow you to express yourself. So I see a natural connection between this chakra, your heart, and your root, because if you're not made to be able to be yourself, if you can't love yourself, then insecurity sets in and then you feel like you're, out of balance. So my message on this one is express yourself, love yourself, and love yourself enough that you're willing to step away from people who can't love you. It's not necessarily going to equate to losing them, but it may mean that you're going to give them the time to grow, to mature, and to come back and say, I'm sorry, I couldn't be the mother you wanted, the friend you needed, the teacher you needed. I didn't have the capacity for that. And I actually had those words come out of my mom's mouth, about 10 years ago. She's since passed, recently, as you know, but there was a point in my life where I had to say, this is what you want, it's not what I want. And then I had to come back later and say, do you remember when you did that? It hurt me. And she couldn't, and I said, you'll have to think about it. And she came back a day later and she remembered the conversation and she said, yeah. She said, I didn't have what I needed to just sort of like support you, because she didn't have good examples. So it's okay. And I didn't punish, and her response was beautiful. And she said, I love you and it's okay. And she said, I just didn't know how to accept what you wanted to do with your life, She was an amazing parent. But everybody, friends and parents, have limits. And we have to sometimes remind them, it's my life, not yours. Like that old song, It's My Life, I can't remember what it was. It was in the 70s. I think Billy Joel sang it. I don't care what you say anymore. This is my life. That's it. So sometimes that's what we have to think is, this is my life. And I think a big part of the message for you this month is to love yourself. And this card represents your sign too. So love yourself enough to go on a path that's unique to you. Trust that people will follow you if they are truly connected to you. Address any concerns that you are seeing before they get out of hand. So I was thinking about these two energies in our body, the heart and the root chakra, and I was thinking to myself, sometimes we're just afraid. It's like a frog in your throat. You can't say what you need to. The moon card can represent secrets. Secrets can be, somebody doing something behind your back. It can also be something that you're not able to tell someone. Or it can even just be talking about something that you desire and you're afraid that that's going to be judged. So whatever it is, whether it's behavioral, someone's doing something that they shouldn't, whether it's internal, when we look at the moon today, this will hopefully help some of you as well. If it's something that you're just afraid to reveal, the interesting thing is that when we are more vulnerable, when we are more ourselves, typically we're more relatable, because people can see, oh, okay, they've gone through what I've gone through. Or if it's your friend and they let you into this sort of personal side of themselves, you now have a deeper connection. You really know who you're with, right? So if you can't be yourself with somebody that you care about, then it's a bigger issue. It's sort of like, well, why am I afraid? Or is this truly unconditional or is it conditional? Okay. The moon and that heart energy are also connected because it's expressive, it's instinctual. If you can kind of go into just trusting yourself, you're going to be led on the right path. I always like to remind folks that I always see the two animals at the front as distracted. We have we have a dog, and we have either a coyote or a wolf. And basically, it's showing you the difference between instinct and training. And the path to success lies somewhere between that. That's what the moon is illuminating. It's not about this anymore. Both of the animals, the dog and the wolf, want to howl at the moon. There's a connection. There's a primal connection. So at your core, you know what to do, even if you've been indoctrinated in some other sort of way of thinking. Go back to what your heart says, okay? And then this is going to help you with that root chakra here. So this is often about safety and security, but we can be made to feel insecure. We can be made to feel unsafe being ourselves. So it's not just about like your money or where you're living or if your job is okay. It can go down to sort of more core energies like what we've been taught as a kid or what we're experiencing in our relationships. And that's why it's very close to the second chakra. So, and there's a little bit of overlap between first and second. So being able to express yourself and even kind of connecting to your power centers, you're going to have to first go through that root. So when you know who you are, when you know what you want, when you know what you have, all of these things are going to set you up so that your foundation is firm, so that you're going to be fine. Doing anything you can to kind of ground yourself is going to be key. So actually working outside, getting your hands in the dirt, connecting with the elements, that's going to be key. Looking at your financial, your legal, and any of your sort of like resource energy around you is also key. So educate yourself. That's actually why I put the 8 of Pentacles here. Whenever you're anxious or curious, go into that curiosity and learn, because education will help alleviate, if not completely neutralize and overcome fear. So this is a time to learn, okay? And now let's go to my final image that came through when I was connecting to Pisces today. I was shown this beautiful house. It looked like a mansion to me. It was filled with things, but there were also empty rooms. It just looked beautiful. You were in one of the empty rooms that had yet to be sort of filled up. But what I did see was like these gems, and particularly a ruby. And there was someone in front of you whose face I couldn't see, but they seemed disconnected with this beautiful grandeur around you. And what I was kind of inferring from the scene setup was that some of you may be trying to do a lot of things for the love of someone else. And this literally is conditional love. What I could have put up here would have also been the devil card, because it's not worth it. You can have, there's this cool song by Tracy Chapman, I think it's called Mountains of Things or whatever. You're not going to be, and also like even Peter Gabriel, big time, he's just talking about like having a big ego, having all these things, walking into this sort of big heaven and all of this stuff. We can't actually take it with us, all the stuff. So if you're doing anything in your life, the material wealth is actually not necessarily the most important thing. That's just going to give you the resources you need to do what you need to do. So what you're doing, everything in your life, it's a curriculum. The relationships, the family that you were born into, the place that you're living, some of the milestones you've chosen to go through. It's a curriculum for you. So when someone comes in and wants you to do something else, or when you try to change the curriculum to please them, you're actually missing the point. It was for you initially. So when I say it's about you, this life is your life. So if you're not happy with it, or if you're living it to please someone else, you're not living your life. You're sort of acting it out or sort of going through the motion. So this reading today is going to be about a realignment for many of you to the soul path, and also to kind of understand how and why you might be triggered to or called to sort of like focus on this other person or this external need for validation. The Hermit card is the perfect card for this, because you do need to go within sometimes. There's a value to the Hermit card. Know and understand yourself. He finds his light. He discovers it there in the lantern and within, and he becomes the star. So I'm setting you up to become the star, but we have to be the Hermit first. So today's going to be sponsored by the Hermit, basically, because we need to understand inner worth, inner value, inner purpose, and make sure that we can compare and contrast that with where you're at right now, so that the trajectory is on course. Okay? So that, my friends, is everything in the initial. Actually, yeah, that was it for the first part. So let's get ready to look at the cards here. I'm going to turn the camera down and pick some decks that we could be using today, some that we haven't used in a while. I'm just going to kind of intuitively go over here and look at some things. So a lot of times you guys ask me for the, what is this? The Little Prince deck. So here's the Little Prince. Let's see what else I can pull. I have an out-of-print one called Arcus Arcanum. Let me see here. We're going to go with things we haven't used in a long, long time. Someone the other day mentioned steampunk. I haven't used this in many moons. And let's see what else hasn't been used in a while. All right. I actually love this one too. So I'll put one that I've used but not as much recently. So we have the Wildwood as well. Okay, so let's take a look at these. These are just basically ones that we haven't used in a while because sometimes I go for the same old, same old. So today I grabbed ones that we haven't seen. Let me go ahead and put the poll up here and then we'll go and vote on this. So give me a second here to get everything set up and we'll take it from there. All right, so we have the Little Prince based on the book. We have Arcus Arcanum. We have, actually this is the wrong one. This isn't steampunk. I want steampunk, but this isn't steampunk. So we're gonna have steampunk in a moment. I just realized when I was looking at the deck, it was the wrong one. So steampunk once I find it. And then we will take a look at Wildwood. Okay, so I'm gonna find steampunk. You can vote on these while I do that, and then I'll show you what they look like. That's the steampunk deck. Okay, so let's take a look at some of these while you're voting today and have some fun. Do something different, all right? So here's the Little Prince. Again, it's based on the book, and I don't use it all the time, but I do see random requests for this one. So Little Prince. This one's out of print. Arcus Arcanum, it's just an unusual deck. So sometimes you guys want me to use something that I haven't used in a while. So this is just like a collector's one that I found that I at times will use. This is steampunk. This is actually kind of cool. So if you don't know what steampunk is, it's kind of like a reimagined future where you're using sort of like retro technology, like steam engines and things like that. So like that's the Devil card, for instance. It looks like this kind of cool thing. Anyway, it's a fun deck which has a few sort of different versions of traditional Rider-Waite-Smith sort of imagery here. And then this is one of my all-time faves, but I don't always put it out there. This is Wildwood, and it has beautiful animal totems, really nice energy. We couldn't have picked like different decks today if we tried, but there you go. All right, let's see what's in the lead. It's the Little Prince right now, so it looks like we're gonna do the Little Prince. All right, let me go ahead and put these back, and unless there's a wild amount of change here in the last moment, it will be the Little Prince for today. All right, let's get started, everyone. Great choice. It's actually a beautiful deck. I do like it. Very sort of like whimsical. All right, let's get started. Okay, and there's just already a volunteer there. How's everybody doing today? Hopefully you're doing well. A reminder that this can take you through the next month and a half. We have about 50-50 upright and reverse, which makes sense for a retrograde period. So we'll talk about all of that in just a moment. Yeah, I do like the deck. I tend not to use it all the time because, it's very sort of storybook, and not everybody likes that. So, but I think for today, it's a great change of pace. So let's go ahead and get started. All right, let me just turn the camera so I can see it myself as well. All right, great. All right, let's begin with your Lord Ganesh card here, which is coming through to remind you of the importance and the power of joy, something that we often overlook. And I don't know when we were sort of taught in our lives to believe that, only if we are in that sort of place where we are unhappy or working really hard, that we are kind of like on the right path here. I think that it's kind of like when you're a kid and your parents are saying, like, get to work, or even at a job where you might be laughing or talking to someone and the boss walks by and gives you a sort of like, what are you doing sort of energy. I think it's in those moments, unless you're just messing around all the time, I think it's in the moments where we let go a little bit, where we just talk, where we have some fun, that you really create that sort of tangible connection with somebody, when you start to realize, like, this isn't just work, this is actually something that we're both enjoying. So if you can infuse some joy in that, great. And if somebody steps in and tries to break up that joy, then one of the things that you could remind them is, we were actually talking about this, or we're really connecting, or this being able to relate to one another is just as important to get the work done, and we'll do it better. And also, if you're in a kind of situation where someone always comes in and expects you to just be morose and serious, also that's a wake-up call that maybe this isn't the best place to be spending all of your time and energy. Have fun. Engage in the energy of the Fool, or the Six of Cups, or the Ace of Cups, or the King of Cups, basically opening up your heart, because that was one of the two areas that was showing potential for additional healing or opening. Okay, so beautiful energy here. Lord Ganesha helps us break through boundaries or blocks in our life. And so for some of you, joy is either the key to overcoming that, or you've been blocked in the heart, and he's saying, have some fun, experience some joy. It's okay. In fact, it's important. All right. And complete connection to that, we have the Lovers card right at the center here. Okay, so let's talk about this. I do like that we see the rose right on top of this here. So I like to remind folks that roses are interesting energies to connect with love. It's kind of fascinating that we give them to people that we love, because they're thorny, right? And they're difficult to take care of. And they're sort of like indicative of the work that it takes to make something sort of like really grow in a relationship. So you have to nurture it, and you have to take it for the rose and also the thorns here. So love yourself enough to love all aspects of you. The beauty, and also some of the blemishes, some of the parts that you're not sort of ready to show everyone else, because it all constitutes you. It all creates the you that came onto this planet to experience things. So this card in reverse is saying, do you love yourself fully? And do you love yourself enough to receive love and abundance in the highest forms? So self-love is the most important thing that comes through first. Then when we're looking at relationships this month, you may be challenged to look at a part of yourself or someone else that you care about, and it comes through a little bit like as a thorn, as an unexpected piece. I think really when you're looking at it, is one thing enough to really throw you off that relationship? Because if it is, then that also speaks to maybe the lack of strength that was there. So focus on self-love, focus on loving someone unconditionally, looking beyond the flaws, maybe helping them work through some of their own challenges. And that could be one of the first energies that is presenting itself for you this month. Ultimately, this is maybe the biggest magnet card that you can kind of pull in the major arcana. It is. I can say that without doubt. So what this means is you can decide to use this however you would want. So if you're not looking to date people, if you're not interested in love at the moment, the Lover's card is a spotlight. It's a stage. It's a platform, basically, energetically. So you can use the attention, or you can use the magnetism associated with that card to call in things that you want, or to call attention to things that you care about. So I was just talking about this with Aquarius. You can basically be the spotlight and shine it on someone, or accept the spotlight. And that's all you have to decide to do with this. So if you want to find someone, then you step into that spotlight and say, I am ready to receive. And if you're looking to share your time, energy, and love with others, then you turn the spotlight, okay? We have the Two of Pentacles right on top of this. So these two together tell a story of I'm going to prioritize the things I care about, or the people that I care about the most. Work-life balance. That's what I always see when I look at the Two of Pentacles. Before I actually see money, it can, of course, indicate money. And you got both of the balance cards with respect to money here. You have the Two of Pentacles and the Six of Pentacles. So you're being asked between the two of these. One is an easy decision here. One is going to be a little bit harder. One you can put off a little bit. One you have to sort of like make a hard and fast decision. Am I going to do this now, or am I going to wait? So with the Two of Pentacles, you could almost think of it this way, because I'm looking at the plane behind him. Let's imagine that you only have half a tank of fuel. So you're not going to have enough room for a return trip. You're going to take a one-way trip somewhere. You have to really know where you're going, and you have to factor in, like, I don't have time for extra pit stops or things like that. So when you think of it in respect to fuel, which most of us can understand, even if you're riding an electric vehicle, which hopefully more of us will do in the future, then it's the same thing. So whether it's renewable fuel or fuel, these vehicles still need a charge, right? Your phone still needs a charge. Everything has a finite sort of journey. So there's limits on what you can or should do in the month ahead. And you need to be smart, because you don't have time to go backwards, and you may not have time to do 2 or 3 things at once. So I don't know why I've never thought of that, probably because I wasn't using this deck, but that's why I like to use different decks. So the journey, or this sort of trajectory that you're planning, you need to save the fuel and the energy to get where you want to go. Okay? So saying no to someone else means you can get there faster and you can refuel, and then you can come back and take care of that later if you need to. But right now, something needs your attention. And the Two of Pentacles always begs for a decision, because the more you spread yourself thin, the less effective you are. Sometimes you just aren't going to be able to do it full stop, and you don't want that to happen. Okay? So you need to make a choice. And the sort of deciding factor here is, what do you love? What do you want? And why haven't you been prioritizing that? Okay? So that's really what this is saying. Focus on what you love the most, what you're called to do the most. Put the energy there. And then you'll get more back from that. There'll be more fuel in your sort of heart space, that kind of tank, where you can do more with that. Okay? As we look in the deep past, some of you have already stepped away from someone or something, but it takes time. Grieving takes time, whether it's a symbolic or an actual loss in your life. So interesting here. This loss brings about what's coming in, your love. We got to look at these two cards together. It's beautiful. So this is death. Death always has a rose on it. It's a white rose usually. And then we have the universe coming in and saying, I haven't forgotten you. This isn't it. This is just the beginning. When you create space, when you allow for something to exit, something can come through again. We kind of see him on the beach here of his, or the shore of his life, if you will. So you can imagine that a version of yourself is gone. Because to me, this is more of a symbolic death of a part of your life, or a part of yourself, but not necessarily a physical death. Hey, buddy, what's going on? What are you doing? Need to be tucked in? Apollo always enjoys sort of like showing up in the background. So there we go. Yeah, he needed to be tucked in. All right, back to the reading. So when I'm looking at this, I imagine that this is on the shore of his sort of soul, if you will. And there's been a part of him that sort of passed away, or it's like graduation, if you will. So whenever you graduate, sometimes people are very joyful, sometimes they're crying, sometimes they're just sort of numb and out of body. So you just went through something big, and maybe you haven't fully processed it. And maybe you're just about to kind of complete something, so it's underway, but it's not completely finished. The universe is showing us with these two lovely cards between Death and the Lovers that this is a good change, and it's going to bring about new things in your life, okay? So it's okay to feel a little sense of, will I be okay? Why is this happening, etc. And then it's going to be okay, all right? So whatever you lost, it wasn't the end. This is in the deep past. And when we just take a little preview, look at what's here, Ace of Pentacles. You combine the Ace of Pentacles with the Lovers, it's an offer. For some of you, it can be a proposal, it could be a new job, it could be someone asking you out. It's something good. So you've earned this opportunity because you stepped away from something else, okay? And also because you chose to go down one path and let go of that other path, okay? So there's a choice, there's a trade-off, but there's a really nice result because of that trade-off. We also have the Emperor here in the outcome. So when I'm looking at this, it is hard for some of you to go through this, but I think it's important. So let's just kind of, we'll work through it. Death reversed, by the way, is stagnation. So for many of you, what this is indicating is that there was something which didn't give you the capacity to grow or be the you that you needed to be. And you have this chance to chart something new. We look at the beautiful stars above that's kind of creating that constellation of the rose. So for many of you, we do this in meditation a lot. I just want you to kind of like imagine that you could map something out, whether it's in your head, in your heart, imagining it's in the stars or whatever, that's fine. But it's your chance now to chart a new course. The old one wasn't serving you. And if you are feeling stuck in a relationship, in a job, in a part of your life, this is the wake-up call. Just like you heard all the construction last month, that was my wake-up call. So you're going to have it can be an obvious one like that, or it can be a subtle one for you. All right, looking at the recent past, which for many of you, you're going to be experiencing right now, it's finding your voice. We have the King of Swords. The King of Swords was reversed, but I like the King of Swords, whether he's upright or reversed. The reversal of this is saying act and speak quickly and succinctly. So this is definitely calling through right here and right now for you to take the most or make the most of this moment in time, okay? So I like to look at the positive on this one, and I would say that swift action is going to bring about sort of like swift reaction, and we're looking at the Lovers, the Ace of Pentacles, a lot of really positive cards overall. So I think that if you're willing to step up and do something, then you're going to see results more quickly than you imagined. For some of you, just finding a way to articulate what's going on, that could be the hardest thing. And it always is sometimes, just like I said, that frog in the throat, getting things out of your head, your heart, or your throat could be a challenge. So write it down. Write down whatever's going on and make sure that you have that script if you need it, okay? We have the Six of Pentacles here in the crowning position. It's a really unusual Six of Pentacles. Normally with the Six of Pentacles, we would have someone holding basically coins and also a scale, measuring out, should I give this to you? Do I have enough time and energy to kind of get this done? And also, what you're offering me, does it measure up? And we think back to the Egyptian sort of scale with the heart and the feather. All of that comes through. There's a sort of dreamy quality here, and this does remind me a bit of what I was talking about with the sort of house and the gems and the accomplishments. When is enough enough? And that's the other thing that I can get here. Because I look at the little prince here, it's almost like he's in love, right? And this other person that's drawing is not drawing him, they're drawing a sheep, which is kind of interesting here. So is it your dream or is it their dream? I do see a parallel between kind of like what I was picking up on earlier. Here, let's just go back to the original Six of Pentacles. And because this one is so out there, I just want to show you the traditional one so that we're not losing something in the translation. Here's your original Six of Pentacles. So the scales, the investment in the coins, people asking, people even begging. Maybe you find yourself on that side of the equation too, where you're asking for something but not receiving it. So everybody gets to choose yes or no. You can say no. So one of the messages here is it's okay to say no. It's okay to push back. And especially if it's because it's what your dream is, what your sort of desire or goal is. Six of Pentacles is also a card that tells me you have exactly what you need to succeed, but maybe not what you want. You can do what you want, but maybe not in the timing that you'd like. So something has to give. There has to be a concession. There has to be some flexibility. As long as you are flexible and as long as you're flexing for the right reasons, then you're going to be okay. All right? So be intelligent and smart and thoughtful about how, why, and where you're investing your time, energy, love, money, etc., and you'll be supported. We still have a little bit of residual mourning. So this shows the connection you had to something. This shows the disconnect. And this shows the mourning and yet the recovery. Possibly one of the most beautiful Three of Swords that I have in any deck, because what we see is the perseverance of love. The rose is showing up everywhere. So this is going after what you love, and this is loving again. Loving through the pain, loving after heartbreak. I actually see this as the most optimistic sort of Three of Swords that I've ever seen. So we have the rose, which is eventually going to just overcome and hide those three swords and become something more. So pain is it doesn't define us, but it does help us figure out what we want. It's a directional sort of energy. And when I look at important moments in my life and changes, I would say the death of both of my parents, now that I've gone through both, has definitely been life-changing. So for my father, it was to do what I'm doing now. I had to take a directional shift. For my mother, it was teaching me the ultimate lesson that you can do this on your own. You're more than enough. And I have no siblings. So I just had to kind of realize, I've got this. I had plenty of time with that person on that path. And then when you disconnect from a job, from a love relationship, from a parent or a familial connection, you're going to have a little bit of emptiness. You're going to have a little bit of space where you were holding that for the other person. Now you get to put something else there. And that's what we're seeing for you this month when we look in the environment. And dare to dream it, because look, this is actually dream bigger, dream beyond what you had, and the dream comes true. And that's what we see here as I kind of continue the story. So it's kind of cool that we have storybook-like cards because, yeah, it does tell a little story for you. So let's continue to see what the story is. So again, this is maybe wish or dream bigger, because I am seeing that connection here. And if we go on a diagonal here, we go to the dream, we go past the disappointment from the past, and then we see something beautiful coming through for you. So it's okay to love again. It's okay to dream beyond what you've achieved. You've got to keep moving in this life experience until the final day. So make each day count like it was your last on the planet. And if there's something you want to do, make that your first thing tomorrow. Like, imagine that I always say this, but it bears repetition. If you have regrets, or if you go into that mental space and you think, oh, if this were my last day on the planet, I would have regretted not doing this. I'm going to do this. And so whether that's hang gliding, or whether that's going back to school, or whether that's taking the vacation that you've always dreamed of, now start to plan it. Now start to breathe life into it so that there's no regrets. Because this life is like this. It's a one-way trip. We get to come back, but not in the same vehicle. Next life, it's not going to be this. It might be a Learjet. It might be a train. It might be a submarine. But you're coming back in a different vessel. So we go to each destination, and when we come back and start the journey again, it's completely different. So have fun on this journey and invest wisely. So this is a little bit of a wake-up call. We don't need it. So we have midlife crises. Why don't we just call it awakening? Oh, I'm having an awakening. You can have it when you're 23. You can have it when you're 45. You can have it if you're 102. We are always having these sort of awakenings. So I feel like Pisces right now, you're on this precipice of an awakening, and it's not a crisis. It might feel like it, but it's not. And what you're really kind of doing is getting back to the basics and saying, somehow I veered to the right or to the left a little bit. I'm going to be more thoughtful about expenditures of time and energy now, because I know I know that it's valuable. I value my time. I value myself. And I'm not going to do this anymore. Okay? We have a couple of pages. We have the Page of Cups and the Page of Wands. For those of you looking for love, it's actually portending good things because we got the Lovers and we have 2 pages. And so I would say right off the bat, yes, it's a good month for love. The Ace of Pentacles in between is an offer or an interest or an investment. So yes, I see love coming in for some of you if that's what you are looking for. I'll be looking deeper at that in just a moment. But I just wanted to mention that, particularly since you're coming through in the soul and in the ego with the Page of Cups. So you double that up with the Lovers. Just make sure that you're not compromising your values. You're not saying yes to someone that you don't feel connected to, and that you're not doing anything less than what your heart truly wants, because you deserve it. And that's what we see here, is you deserve to be happy. Okay? Prioritize that happiness, whether it is love and relationship, whether it's spending time with your children, because pages can be kids, whether it's following your heart's desires, because that can also be part of like Page of Cups. Happiness, joy, because we actually got that with Lord Ganesh is coming through as well. So all of these things, the heart definitely takes a center stage this month for you, even more than the root chakra. The root chakra is there to keep you grounded, but it really is heart-centric for you. So when we were looking at the ruby, it's more the pinkish ruby than the red ruby, okay? So you can do this. For those of you, I'm gonna actually jump ahead of myself a little bit, but it's coming through. If you've loved and lost, so maybe you were in a relationship, there was a divorce, or you had a long-term relationship and you just separated, or you lost someone, maybe there was a death. This is loving again. So this is loving and loss, this is loving again. And it's worth that experience because it looks very good to me. We'll look at the other aspects of love, but I did want to mention that because these 2 cards show recovery after that period. And this is saying, I'm going to try something different. This didn't stop my growth or my capacity to experience things. This was just like a semicolon. I like to describe things of that nature in that kind of way of thinking. So it's sort of like a pause between 2 different parts of yourself. They're related. It's not the same. You're going to be able to kind of like show something new in this next path. But it's not going to just be a repeat of the past. I will say that. There's something new that's worth your time and energy. And whatever you had before could have just been a building block or a false start. This is the real thing. This next chapter is the big thing that you've been waiting for. Okay? Have some fun. Do something creative. This is good for those of you that are artists or writers or somehow in the performing arts, or just trying to get people to see it from your perspective, because the Page of Cups is good at sending and receiving. Okay? Pay attention. I will say this page is a little bit inebriated and seems like they're not connected. So sometimes we can get so, carried away by something that we lose focus. So that's the only thing that I would kind of garner from that. If you're looking for love, if you're looking for a job, if you're looking for a new opportunity, even a new place to live, because I was shown that house, there's some good things here on the horizon. You have a chance. Keep dreaming, keep looking for it, because either you'll find it or it will find you. Then the question just basically sits with you. What do you want? Is this enough for you, or is there something more that you're looking for? Okay. We have the Page of Wands reversed in the sort of hopes, fears, and opportunities. It's kind of interesting that I was talking about different vehicles of travel because we see them here, different modes. We have the old-fashioned train here, and we have like this old-fashioned plane here. So things are traveling at different speeds. You and the one that you love may also be kind of like traveling at a different speed or using different ways to kind of get things done. So there could be a little bit of a clashing of heads when it comes to which path, which direction, which way is right. And there may not be a quote unquote right. There may be sort of just different means to the same end. And I think that's one of the challenges this month, is trying to align on just common interest and understanding that there's more than one way to do this. Keep an open mind. Whenever we have a page card like this reversed, it's not necessarily stubborn. It can just be closed. So this is possibly you thinking, I can't change, or I can't imagine something being different than this. And this is the universe coming through, kind of laughing a little bit and saying, guess what? I'm going to test your theory. I'm gonna show you something you didn't expect. And even if you sort of said something like, I'm fine, like I'm never gonna love again, or I'm fine doing this, I don't need this dream anymore, all of a sudden like a second chance is showing up. Until the second week or so of next month, I'll have to look at my dates in a moment here, but the retrograde is until the middle of the month, basically. So there's still second chances even through the end of the month because there's a shadow. So I want you to look at things where you think, I wish I could have. I wonder if I should. And I want you to give it more of a thought and maybe take some action on that, because you have the capacity right now to be surprised. Something's coming through in a really nice way with the Ace of Pentacles in the environment. And it's just sort of you deciding, I didn't see it that way. But that doesn't mean that I can't do it. That doesn't mean that this isn't right. That doesn't mean that it's not possible. Dream the dream and then embrace it when it comes through. It's real. And then Page of Wands in reverse is also for some of you, maybe you're just lacking some concentration, focus, or vitality. And some of this could have to do with, again, how connected you are to what it is that you're doing. So we are at our most powerful, our most effective, our most creative when we feel like it's something that we want to do, right? So if you're not motivated, if you're disinterested, or if you're just feeling a little bit out of body, some of this might be so that you are allowed to look in a different direction and to dream a little bit. Daydreaming is still dreaming. So what are you daydreaming about? If you're sitting and listening to someone and you're not connected to them and you're thinking about someone or something else, what's that someone or something? If you're at work and you're looking out the window and wondering, when is it going to be 5 or 6 o'clock or whatever, or I wonder what it would be like if I did this. I want you to pay attention to the daydreaming. If you're disconnected from what you're supposed to be focusing on, that's your intuition coming through and saying, why aren't we doing this? It's the two little versions of yourself, and they're whispering and they're asking, is this really it, or should we be doing this? Okay? Hint, you should be paying attention to what that dream is, so hopefully that helps. We have a power card here at the close here in the outcome, so we have the Emperor. This is really interesting. Some of you, we see like it's the Little Prince, right? So it makes sense. We have someone who will be the king one day, but we kind of have like the king here coming through as well. And this Little Prince couldn't be more bored if he tried. So this happens sometimes. If you've spent a long time trying to achieve something and you achieved it, and then you thought, gosh, this isn't what I thought it would be, that's okay. I think back to like graduating from graduate school, and I remember the first month being out of work, being out of school rather, and I thought, this isn't it. This isn't this isn't why I work so hard. I had to kind of like change what I spent a whole year trying different jobs, like doing a lot of freelance work before I kind of landed on what I ended up doing for 15 years. But there's just a lot of different jobs where I thought, this can't be how I spend every day of my life. And so sometimes we have that realization. Sometimes you achieve something and you thought that the achievement would be the climax, but it's anticlimactic because once you get there, it's sort of like, I was having a lot of fun doing this. I was curious about this. Now that I'm here, I think I might want to go back here. Or I think I want to go to that other mountain. That's human nature. So I think it's good to sit for a moment and really enjoy how hard you work to get to this moment, and then think about what's next. It's okay if you want to try something new. You can always do a course correction at any level, at any age, at any stage. Now, maybe you can avoid having this sort of like achievement/boredom come through. If you're not liking what you're doing, change it early. So like if you're starting off a course of study, you're in the first semester, first year, second year, and you think, this isn't it, you can always take the credits, some of them, and realign to something else. If you're even like 2 or 3 years into your career and you're thinking this isn't it, then you can change it. If you're in a relationship and it's the first or second date and you're not feeling it, this is about course correcting before you're miles down the road. Because going back to the metaphor of fuel, it's a waste to kind of like go down a path that you're not connected to. I don't want you to give up. It's not about like, I can't do it. It's more like, I don't want to do this. I don't feel connected to this. I'm forcing myself, or I'm living some sort of life that isn't kind of like what I want to be living. So now the other piece of this, and I like it quite a bit, is that age doesn't matter. You may be meeting someone who doesn't act their age or doesn't look their age, and you're still connected to them and not a big deal. So maybe there's an old soul in a sort of younger body, or a really vibrant energy, and both their physical form and their age belies that sort of energy within. So you're calling in a partner, some of you, or a friend, and it's not going to be what you expect. There's someone there that has more wisdom than you thought, or more life than you ever have experienced, and that's really cool. You also have that same sort of capacity to surprise, because remember what we were talking about today is surprise yourself, surprise others. So the message here is age is only a number, so you're younger than you think. You're also wiser than your age. You've lived many lifetimes. Everybody tuning in here, everybody on the planet usually has lived at least one lifetime. There may be a few first souls, but most of us have been around this earth a few times. So understand that you have the wisdom, you've gone through a lot of things before, and you're gonna be okay. So step into this new chapter into your life as a wise fool, basically, bringing all the sort of experiences from the beginning of this life plus all your previous lifetimes, and just think, I can do this. And I deserve this opportunity that's just about to unfold. And all the sort of diamonds and jewels and things that I was seeing in the mansion, the Emperor card really connects with that. So whenever I listen to the Coldplay song, something Viva la Vida, I think it is, where he's talking about when he was king, I kind of think of like, I know he's talking more metaphorically, but it is almost like a reincarnation song, right? So, we've been all across the spectrum. You've been rich, you've been poor, you've been tall, you've been short, you've been every sort of walk of life, every profession. So once you start to think of that, then the world is your oyster. Have some more fun with it. Don't worry about achieving anymore. And all that stuff goes away in the blink of an eye. So it's not the money, it's not the material. It's like, how do I feel as I'm going through it? We're all kings and queens, right? Okay. Unfortunately, in this world, not everyone wants to recognize that. We have hierarchical systems. One day the hierarchy will kind of fall away and we can just sort of be a utopian kind of thing. But right now we're not ready for that. So we still like to kind of go through all of these. And these different experiences, they are like different classes that we pass. It's like, I've done that one. Now let me try this one. Let me try that. Let me try that. You're just trying on different aspects of yourself. Let's expand the forecast now. The expanded forecast is going to look at health, wealth, love, and destiny, by the way. And the first card that we're going to look at is health. And we have spiritual gifts here. So we have Archangel Raziel coming through saying, thank you for helping me channel my gifts and talents. This is pretty much the Magician card. The Magician card was reversed when I was looking at it. So when we look at a Magician reverse, it's saying focus. So for some of you, it could be as simple as, I can't concentrate because I'm going through a lot emotionally. I can't concentrate because I have too much that I'm doing and I can't even remember what I said I was going to do yesterday. I can't concentrate because I'm daydreaming. There's something else that I want altogether. Or I have ADHD. Whatever it might be, there's something that's kind of like taking you away from your ability to channel your gifts. Standard disclaimers apply whenever I talk about health. I'm looking at energy and how the energy in your body and in your mind and around you can kind of help you manifest things. So if you're feeling any of these things in your body, talk to a professional. I'm going to help you with the metaphysical, not so much the physical. All right, so the Magician card, whether he's upside down or upright, is still power and is still focus. We see the healing hands here. So for some of you, you may actually want to go and receive something like Reiki treatment, a massage therapy, or chiropractic adjustment. So you could get some healing, or you could connect with the natural healer within. Maybe you're going to learn about one of these things, or you're just going to decide, I'm going to fix something. Because you could, I never really thought of it this way, but it can also be the mechanic here. But it's like kind of like the energetic mechanic, that would be the Magician. Channeling, moving, using all the tools, and fixing something, okay? Let's look at the cards as well to see if there's some additional things that need to be mentioned. Okay, so some of you might have had a close brush with death or with failure or with something in your life where it feels like it was a wake-up call. There's no bigger wake-up call that I can think of than the death card. The tower wakes you up, but this one sticks with you for a while because the tower can come and go, but the death card comes through and it's like, I almost lost that, or I did lose something and now I know what I need. So this brush with death or brush with loss is going to help you get to this understanding that I want this. Life is short. Let's not say that. Life is unpredictable sometimes, or finite. So life is precious, better. Life is precious, so I really want to embrace this opportunity because it only comes around once in a while. And what I just did there, rephrasing, is so important because we have these thoughts. That was a programmed thought that wasn't my own, and I recognized it. Life isn't short. You don't have to make it short. Life can be long. Life is finite. That is a statement that is true. We cannot, in our current technology, nor should we probably ever, live forever, because it seems tortuous. So when you catch yourself in a limiting thought or a programming thought, then just make it something that's accurate and better. So life is precious is the best. Life is finite, I'm still focusing on the limits. So first I said life is short, then I said life is finite, then I said life is precious. And then I'm like, what do I want to do with the preciousness of this? How am I going to invest that value? So you can always reprogram your thoughts like I did right there. Because that was an old operating system, I had to hit reboot. It was still old, I had to update, reboot again. So don't be afraid to do that because there's an old paradigm or an old way of thinking that's coming through here with the death card. All right, back to health. Focus on happiness. This can simply be disappointment, but it can also be the heart chakra. So if you have a family history of heart disease, blood pressure, diabetes, stroke, etc., prioritize this and work with the appropriate professionals to monitor that part of your body. So definitely that's something that even in my family I have to look after. So I have a cardiologist that I go to make sure that my heart's in a good place. So, and that can also be a psychologist. There's different levels of the heart. There's how you feel, and then there's the organ that's pumping away. But unhappiness will somehow manifest in your body. So if you are sad, I think this is the thing that we all can connect to. If there's something that you're mourning or grieving, focus on that first and foremost. Don't spread yourself too thin. Don't burn the candle at both ends, basically. Be mindful of the investment of time and energy because what? Life is precious. It's your turn to be happy. Have some fun. Make some time and room to actually maybe spend it if you have children, if you have friends, because this is a youthful energy with the pages, and we've got this joyful energy here. So have some fun with the people that you love the most. It will do your body good, your heart good, your life is going to improve because of that. Invest more in these relationships because they're touching the money card. You're not as old as you feel or you think you are, and you have the capacity to improve your current situation. All right, so it's all pretty good. We didn't get the devil, we didn't get the tower. We're pretty good. It's mostly emotional stuff that's coming through. And there's different ways that you can connect to heal that, and it's really up to you what feels the best. Moving from health to wealth, we have Seraphim's Gateway, Voice Activation, Angelic Attunement, Divine Support. Let's look at this card up close. So wealth, this is going to be money, career, life purpose. Couldn't get a more heavenly card if you tried here. Again, for many of you, you may decide to do more with communication. So this could be writing, public speaking. This could be simply saying what it is that you want to do. Putting it out there, saying, I'm interested in X, Y, or Z, or I'm going to do this, or I'm going back to school. Because once these two kind of come into alignment, where do they meet? The throat, right? This is your third eye picking up on what it is that you can or should do. This is your heart saying, yeah, I want to do it. And they meet in the throat. So it's a perfect sort of connection. So you're basically going to state your intention or communicate or execute on that communication. All right? Never really thought about it, but yeah, the third eye and the heart meet at the throat. So that's basically divinity and passion connecting. And as long as you're speaking from the heart and from the sort of higher realms, you're going to be fine as well. You may have additional ability to pick up on things. So the angelic attunement, that's you. That's why I want you to pay attention to the daydreams. Angels can whisper in daydreams as well. It's not always going to be your ear chakra picking up like, oh, I can hear this voice. So when our loved ones come through, it can just be as a flash in your head. So when I was looking at some apartments, I haven't found what I've been looking for yet, but one of them that I went to, I heard something, or I could hear, again, my mom has just passed, like she said something in my head, but not like, I wasn't an actual, I heard it, but I kind of saw it and I kind of thought of something she would say, and I was laughing as I was driving. I'm like, that's what you want. That's not what I want at that place. But I could imagine, and it wasn't just an imagining, because it felt very, I was like, yeah, and I laughed out loud. So know that your angels and your relatives and your ancestors can come through in a thought really powerfully. You can feel it, you can hear it, you can sense it, and that's something that you're open to right now. If you want to be open to it, you can work on holding space. So one of the FAQs that I get all the time, frequently asked questions, is how do I develop my intuition? Hold space in your life. Maybe it's in the morning while you're taking a shower, you meditate a little bit, because maybe that's the only time that you have to yourself if you're a parent or something, or even a partner, and you just don't have a lot of time and space to yourself. Find a place where you can meditate. You can be your own sort of like, you can be in your own space. And it can also be, maybe you decide to take a walk, go outside in a park, just sit down on a bench and close your eyes. You can meditate anywhere that you want to, but open up a space and do it consistently. If you can do it the same day or the same time, like every Friday at noon or every Saturday at 8 p.m., then the universe starts to realize, oh yeah, that person does that at that time, and they'll open up and you'll start to get more connections and more energies, okay? So now connecting it tangibly to how does this relate to my work? Well, if you're not feeling that, if you're saying or doing things that do not feel like it's what you want to be doing, you're on the wrong path. It's time to realign. It feels like everything on this one is altruistic or higher. So some of you are just ready for a job or a path where it feels like this is somehow giving back or making a difference, or that you just really like the people that you're surrounded with. It needs to somehow be, we've got joy and higher purpose or higher calling here. So you have to have fun. That's number one. Should be fun, and it should have a bigger purpose than just getting the paycheck. Okay, and if that isn't your job, then it has to be something extracurricular, because wealth can be like what you're getting back from the world around you. So something in your life needs to kind of be returning on the energetic investment. All right. If you're looking for work this month, the Ace of Pentacles portends good things, and it suggests that it's a great time to put yourself out there. If you've been stagnating in something, then it's time to look for something new, because there is a growth opportunity on the horizon, but you have to be willing to step away to receive that. Some of you are not getting what you deserve. We have the Two of Pentacles, and we have the possibility of the Six of Pentacles. So dream, think, ask big, because this, for many of you, is not enough. You've been over delivering and under receiving and not kind of asking for enough. So if it's been a long time, you want to go crazy, but I would say give a reasonable request out there. So, if you have your own business, this could be a slight increase in the cost of whatever your services or goods are. If you've been working at a place for a while, this could be a 5 or 10% increase. If you're negotiating for a job, it could be something in the same realm here. Aces are usually 1s or 10s. So I would say up to 10% or something, or the number 10, it's possible. Okay. And then also this is just saying whatever it is that you want to offer to the world, they're interested right now. So particularly because we have Lovers and the Ace of Pentacles here. So it's a good time to state intention. It's a good time to ask for more. You'll get more than you expect. You may not get everything that you want, but you'll get everything that you need. And this is going to be enough to take you to the next level. And I guess that's the one like realistic thing that I'll say there, is that there's room for growth. So as long as you pick something where there's room for growth, that's good. So, in a relationship, as long as both of you are working on each other or working on one another's sort of path, then that's good, because you're growing, you're developing. If you're moving into a house, you don't want a place that's too small. If you're getting a job, you don't want one where you're a big fish in a little pond. There needs to be some room for growth that's going to actually inspire you. Not like I'm dissatisfied because I'm not getting what I'm wanting, but more like I got more than I thought, and I know that I can get more, and I'm going to keep working on that because it gives me something to look forward to. So look at it from that perspective, and I think it will help you. But you have the potential. You shouldn't be working or living or operating in a place where you're boxed in or there's a glass ceiling. And age doesn't matter. If there is ageism going on, that's a bigger issue, and that's something that you want to deal with, okay? Some of you may just have a hard time stepping into an authority role, but you've got what it takes, so don't second guess yourself. Moving on to love and relationships, we have joy and contentment. Do you feel the joy and contentment in your relationship? Is the thrill there or is the thrill gone? If the thrill is gone, then it's time to decide, why am I still here? In a job, it's a lot easier to walk away. In a relationship, you have to look at it. So let's break this down into 3 elements. We're going to look at those of you in a relationship looking for love or single and happy. So in existing relationships, it feels like for some of you, there could have been a setback or a loss. So one or both of you may have lost something important in your life, and there's this sort of grieving process. So for those of you that lost a family member, lost a job, lost some money, there is this sort of feeling like, I don't know where I'm at. In this case, you definitely want to lean on each other. You give each other balance. The thing is, it's not equal, and you're not enough for each other. You can't do it all. We're not getting you're not getting a 10 with these two, 6, 7, 8. You're teaching and learning from each other, the 8 of Pentacles, but one actually can't give as much as is needed, and one is giving way more. But it's not a 60-40 or 70-30 split. It's a 60-20 split. So here's what I'm going to say. It feels like you may need outside assistance. So if it is like couples therapy, or you might want to talk to a friend, you can only lean on each other so much, okay? And it does feel like for those of you going through sort of a crisis or a loss, you're going to be fine because we have the Lovers, we have the Emperor, but there's a little bit of arguing or disappointment that could be happening here for you. So that's one thing that I'm picking up on. If you've been together a long time and there's been no loss, then what we have instead is stagnation and boredom, perhaps. A little bit of boredom here too. So you have to weigh out, how deep is your love, like the old Bee Gees song. Is it deep enough to kind of go the distance? Because it's sort of interesting here. We have 2 children, and then we have 2 adults here. So the King of Swords and the Emperor, the 2 of you. Then we have the youthful versions of yourself or possibly your children. So you're weighing out, like, are we still is that young self still here? Is the young love still here? Or have I moved on? Have I grown in a different place? So what you really have to think about is, what do you value? Is it the relationship or is it your own personal growth? Only you can answer that. But what I'm seeing here is, for some of you, this sort of fork in the road, and there's a decision here. I still see a lot to love, but what I'm seeing here is that the investments changed. So if you're putting constantly that 6 of Pentacles in and your partner's only putting 2 of Pentacles, it's not enough. So in this case, they need to give you the same level of investment, and that's the conversation that you need to have. All right, so that's current relationships. It looks like investment of energy and time is important. Some of you are dealing with loss and balancing that out, realizing that in either situation, you probably need some extra help to get through this, and then the choice is up to you, okay? This is a return on investment card, so if you put in the work and they put in the work, good. But if only one party's doing it, it's an empty investment. Okay, for those of you that are looking for love this month, some healing needs to happen. This is true of everyone this month. Grief doesn't have an expiration date, but what you want to look at is this willingness to experience the higher feelings again. So it's okay to go through the loss, but to only exist within the loss kind of cheats you of the chance to feel something higher, something more exciting. So I'm seeing a chance here to heal, and once you've healed, then I get a really fun, playful energy for you. It's youthful, but again, there's something that's belying that. So maybe you could be pulling in someone that's a little bit older, a little bit more mature than you, a little bit more experienced than you, but they have this sort of youthful glow about them, okay? And I'm getting evenly met energies here. The 2 kings and the 2 pages. You could meet someone that has a kid. You could have a kid. And it's going to be okay, because we do have, this is a card that I would look for in a relationship. Everyone always wants the Lovers, the 2 of Cups, the Ace of Cups. The Ace of Pentacles is a proposal. The Ace of Pentacles is a do you want to go steady sort of energy. It's a good card to have. It says, I value you. Do you value me? And because the ace is upright, it portends good things. It's a yes. So value yourself enough to put yourself out there. And if somebody isn't ready for that, know that there is someone out there, because that ace is in the upright position. And I'm not an overly optimistic, rosy colored glasses reader. If I see that there's an opportunity, I say it. If I don't, I don't. We don't focus on love solely here, but love is coming through everywhere. So I'm seeing it. So I'm saying it. And that's kind of how I work as a reader. The other question that this card is begging you is, are you focused on love, or are you focused on something else? Because this can also be investing in yourself, working really hard, and you have to kind of choose balance card, priority card. So what's your focus? Are you actually setting up time? Are you making an effort? And that's more of a rhetorical question from the universe, or a homework question. What are you doing to make time? Okay. You don't need to please your parents. You're not going to always be able to do that. There may be two really strong patriarchal energies here trying to control this. There could be someone trying to arrange something. Remember, it's your choice. It's your life. If you're single and happy, it's an ideal time to be so. I actually think that the biggest opportunity that Pisces has this month is for healing and development. So if you happen to be mixing that energy with love and that overlaps, perfect. But the bigger opportunity this month is to dream your dream, to accomplish that dream, or to kind of live in love and experience again. And then that's going to open up your heart and naturally bring you closer to love in the long run. So I really feel like the big story for Pisces is don't limit your dreams. Push through some of the discomfort and look what comes through. This is the winter, this is the spring, right? So it feels like many of you are ready for a new springtime in your life, and love can be a part of that, but it doesn't have to be the defining part if you're single and happy. Okay, so some beautiful energies in respect to love. But by the way, it's okay. One last thing. You should be happy, and it's good to be happy. And if you're not happy, prioritize that happiness. Now let's focus on your destiny card. Destiny is something that you're writing every day. There's a character in Neil Gaiman's Sandman series called Destiny, I believe. Destiny has no eyes, and it just has a book. And it knows everything. It kind of, everything that ever was or ever will be. To me, there couldn't be anything more boring than to have the ending to every book or every movie or every path in your life. So the cool thing with the way I read Destiny is it's not like the Sandman version. We're writing it. So the book of Destiny is being written as we speak. And that's how I interpret this card. All right, it's time to make a splash. Whenever I get the whale usually it's just the whale. I was going to say sometimes the shark, but the whale for sure. I think of it kind of like coming out of the water and making a big splash. So this is your time to be seen. This is also a gentle giant. Whales typically eat plankton. Not all of them, but most of them. So they're like vegetarians. So there may be, you may sort of like be worrying about, can I do this? You can be any kind of leader you want. You can step into your path in any way that you want. So I see you entering into this sort of gentle giant stage where you're going to make a splash. It's like the star energy. It's the Emperor energy, King of Swords energy. We got both of those coming through. And you may think to yourself, but I'm not this person. You're exactly who, what, and where you need to be. So trust in that moment and make a splash, okay? There's a timing to this one as well. Like I would say now is the time to take action. Also, we talked about that with the King of Swords in reverse, okay? All right, let's get into the next portion. If you just joined, you joined at a perfect part because it gets really fun here. We're gonna look at the big idea next, and then we're gonna go into all of these interactive elements that follow. So let's begin with the big idea. The big idea is one sort of like beacon of light. Imagine it being your North Star that's going to help you stay in the right direction. All right, so let's pull the camera down and see what your North Star is going to be. Eight of Cups, making and breaking cycles. So the big idea this month is you get to choose. Do I want to do this again? Am I going to do this for another revolution around the sun? Or am I going to turn to the right or do a 180 or go in a different direction? So you get to choose. This is a card of taking a break too if you need to. So the Eight of Cups, I'm going to pull the traditional card while we're talking, is a chance for you to sort of, sometimes you need to get away from someone or something to gain perspective. So if you have a big decision on your plate, at least sleep on it. If you're going to make a big life change, let's imagine that you're going to move or quit a job or get a divorce. The Eight of Cups is saying before you make that big change, just get some perspective, step away from it for a moment and separate emotions from facts, separate opportunities from expectations, just really get the space that you need. And, then and only then. So this is the person stepping away, and this is the person stepping and coming back, and this is the person waiting to see what they're going to do. So you kind of get both sides of this story. Some of you are at the place where you need a little bit of a break, and some of you are coming back. Because I pulled this card for the sign, I'm going to say that this month someone's going to ask you what you want. It's kind of your choice right now to decide if you want to go one more time around or if you need a little bit more time off, but you need to give them an answer. And that's going to be the challenge for some of you is how to articulate that answer. I would say getting to the point is going to be important. We have the fox on this, which I didn't talk about that much earlier. So you don't have to overthink it. And they're going to see through a lot of facade anyway. So if you just really need more time, or if you just say, I don't know, but I'm going to do this, I think the more honest you are, the better on this, okay? But making and breaking cycles, that's actually the big thing that comes through in every retrograde as well. So if you haven't learned your lesson, you're going to keep doing what you're doing until you learn it. The only thing that I will say is that the lesson tends to get louder and more difficult sometimes. So if you've been through something a little challenging and you know it's time to try something else to move on, then do it. Because otherwise you start to call in energy like the tower. So the universe starts to shake you up a little bit and say what do you need? What's going on? We don't need that. So if you're ready, take this leap of faith. I think it'll be okay. If you are just waking up and need some time, step away for a little bit and get your perspective. All right, let's move on to blessings and blocks. Things to embrace, things that could trip you up if you're not careful. We'll pull both cards first and then talk about them. Blessing, Five of Wands, block, Knight of Cups. All right. So blessing first, Five of Wands. Often misunderstood and not very much liked, I would say sometimes Five of Wands. It's about getting the work done. This is a really curious Five of Wands. Let me just look at it closely. So we have this sort of snake coming through. There's a power struggle. When I look at this, there's a power struggle. A lot of times Five of Wands is competition. When you look at it, I'm going to pull the traditional card here in just a moment, but a lot of times it's competition, and I always like to remind folks that the big opportunity is for collaboration or cooperation rather than competition. All the different possible C words when it comes to work, but let's, oh my gosh, here it was right at the bottom. So here's your traditional Five of Wands, and it is not necessarily people working together or working very productively. They're just working for the sake of work. So I always see an opportunity here for people to work more intelligently, to have better leadership. And at the end of the day, if someone is just trying to compete or show off, just kind of finish what you're doing. So walk the higher path if you have to here, step up and lead if you need to. But otherwise, it can be like a snake pit. There can be a lot of just, you're competing and it's not achieving anything, okay? So your blessing is to recognize I have work to do. I know that I don't need to kind of get involved with this because this isn't going to be the best use of my time and energy. So I'm just going to work hard and I'm going to do the best that I can do. If I can lead, I'll lead. But if I can't, I'm just going to finish and move on. Okay. So the blessing is the understanding that that's the path. You just have to push through the work that's in front of you. Your block is the Knight of Cups. The second time we got a court card with cups. You got the page before. So if you're looking for love, careful what you're looking for. It's going to come through potentially at an inconvenient time, which distracts you. So for many of you, you're just inspired. And if you're in a sort of mundane task, and the Five of Wands can absolutely be mundane. This is you scribbling on your paper at a meeting and like drawing when you should be paying attention. This is you listening a little bit too much to your headphones and not really focusing on the Excel sheet that you're looking at. This is you sort of like saying, I want to do something else, or I want to be with someone else, or I want to be someone else. You're daydreaming. So the block is there. It's almost like these two were flipped, but the block is a blessing in disguise and the blessing is a block in disguise. So let's just put them together. For many of you, if you're given this daydream or this desire from a mundane task, it really was a blessing in disguise. You're supposed to be bored so you can daydream. The daydream takes you away from this task, but it's also giving you what you need to get to the next level. So I feel some of you are distracted on purpose. The universe is coming through on purpose and it's saying, this, not this. And then you just have to decide what to do about that, okay? So pay attention to your distractions this month. They're not accidental. What I talked about earlier with me driving and hearing or seeing something in my head, perfect example of that. All right, let's go on to viewers and readers' choice and look and see what else we can connect with. I want to look at the joy card, so I'm going to look at that in just a moment. So let's see, as we look at all of these, what you can vote on. So I'm drawn to the ace, so let me put this poll together real quick. We'll do 3 options. So the first one that I want to do is, what's the opportunity? The next one that I want to look at is the resource management. And the third, it's love and relationships. There's one more that I'm going to add in here, and it's overcoming loss or change. Really would be coping with change here. Okay, I'm gonna, I'll put it as one because I believe these two can go together. All right, you have a lot to vote on. So while I'm looking at joy, you guys can make that very important decision with respect to that. Okay, let's go ahead now and shuffle the cards, and we're gonna focus on, like I said, how to give yourself permission to have fun, where the creativity might be coming through, because we did get joy and fun coming through a few times in a few ways in the Knight of Cups. So where is it that more joy can come into your life? Okay, the Tower. Wow. Okay, so I have a lot to talk about while you guys are voting. So how can joy happen in your life? For some of you, once you make the necessary change, everything comes together. The Tower can be a move. So when you decide to move, if you decide to move for work, for instance, you're going to relocate, then this is going to bring that joy, that excitement in your life. There's a little bit of energy of surrender that we don't always see in the Tower. When change starts to happen, you have no choice but to go with it. You can't fight the free fall. So part of the Tower is saying, trust me. If we're not looking at it as a literal sort of tower, just sort of like the universe coming through, and it says, trust me, I'm going to transition you out of this. It's going to feel like a free fall, but you're going to land in a better situation. And that really was what we saw here for you. There was stagnation. There is regrowth. There is, at the core of all of this, love and opportunity. So you had to get out of whatever it is that you're getting out of. Some of you lost it. Some of you were pushed out of it. Some of you chose to step away from it. Whatever it was, there was a loss, there was a change, and it brings about growth. But part of what you used to do doesn't work anymore either. So I think change in and of itself would be the way to joy. Change it up. Change up your routine. I met one of my friends at a different restaurant. We always go to like the same 3, and I was like, why don't we just give this place a second chance? Let's do it earlier when it's not busy. Let's make sure we're outside. Let's do this. And they had changed their menu. It was quieter. It was perfect. And I was like, yeah, change is good. So it can be as simple as changing your routine like that, or it can be a big life change and saying like, I'm going to move, I'm going to change this job, I'm going to do this. But surrender to the energy of change and see where it takes you. All right, let's see what you've chosen for me. It looks like, what's the opportunity? Okay, by a pretty good margin, 47%. So unless anything radically shifts here. Yeah, what's the opportunity? 1. So let's go ahead and see indeed what opportunities are coming through for you. All right, so one more time, what's the opportunity, just so I understand how the question's being asked. Okay, so with the Queen of Pentacles, she is one of my, I love the Queen of Wands, but the Queen of Pentacles is good because she can create, foster, or even like resuscitate energy just by sort of like paying attention to it. So she has the Midas touch. She can be a little controlling, however. Not in the way of a bossy Queen of Wands, but in a sort of like, it's like a mom or a boss that kind of is a helicopter and comes in and, are you sure you can do that? Have you done this? What about this? And it can kind of like suffocate. So the opportunity is to know that part of growth is release. So do what you came to do what you need to do what you're called to do, and then let it go. Then release, and then move on to the next thing. When it comes to people in your life, sometimes we want to fix and, I just have a little scrape on my finger here, nothing big, but it's like you want to kiss and make everything better. You can't do that with everyone in your life if they're not ready to heal, if they're not ready to put the bandage on, right? So pick and choose carefully. And when you get a block, when someone says, I don't want to talk to you, or I don't like this, or when you feel like you might be overdoing something, give it some breathing space. The 8 of Cups that we talked about just a few moments ago is a really valuable tool here. So just say, that's fine, take some time, come back to me if you have some questions. That's what teachers do. They sort of lead you toward the path, but they can't take you all the way. There's an open door if you have any questions. I don't know if I would do that, but why don't you explore it? Let me know. If you have questions along the way, I can help you. So just kind of try to coach, but don't try to control. And that's how I would say, that's the opportunity. That's how you can bring things in. Now, she's also super entrepreneurial. And you've got also a very entrepreneurial Emperor card as well. Both of them are reversed. Some of you are better at being the boss than being bossed around. So if you are at a point in your life where you've done the work, you have the resources, and you're ready, this card is saying this is a good time to be the boss of yourself, okay? All of that is coming in. One last note, and then I'm going to move on to looking at Sun, Rising, Moon. It's time to finish something or let something sort of go as well here with this, because this is a card second only to the Empress that I would connect with birthing. So with the Queen of Pentacles in reverse, sometimes we try to perfect something. It could be fixing up a house. It could be writing a book. It could be working on ourselves, getting ready to ask someone for something, whatever. You've done the required work, or you're just about to finish it, since I'm reading for the next month. So by the end of June, by July, it's time. So next 6 to 8 weeks, finish what you've been working on and move on to the next thing, okay? Let's take a look at Sun, Rising, and Moon messages. You can always look at the entirety of this reading for any of these. This part of the reading is actually helping you fine-tune it. You can also look for Venus and other aspects of your chart, but these are the most common ones, so I've decided to highlight them because people had asked. And now I'm no longer getting that question, well, what if I'm, Pisces Moon? You're going to find out in just a few moments. All right, so let's go ahead now and pull for Sun, Rising, and Moon, and then I'll break down the messages. Sun, Rising, Moon. All right, you have some very different messages. When I was reading for Aquarius, they were very close. So different placements, different messages this month. Okay, we're going to start with the sun signs. All right, we have the 5 of Swords here in reverse. So if I'm going to get the 5 of Swords, I want to get it reversed. A 5 of Swords card is basically coming through when you know that you can't necessarily win an argument, or there may not be there's no such thing as winner or loser. It's sort of like a draw. And the best thing to do in a 5 of Swords situation is to kind of go in another direction. Let's show the traditional card while we're talking about it here. With the 5 of Swords, a lot of times what happens is it's kind of like the person has cotton in their ears, which is to say that they either are doing a very poor job at listening to you, or they simply don't care and they don't want to be told that they're wrong. So what you can do in a Five of Swords situation is cut your losses and move forward. Say what you need to say, but know that it may not have the effect that you thought it would. And most importantly, sort of like just redirect your energy. I really think cutting your losses is the best, and not trying to take things too personally or trying to worry too much about what that person's going to do. We're all free agents on this planet. Let them make their own path and make their own decisions. Okay? And that's what we see here. We see a couple of people not paying attention. Like, that's the other thing. There's a complete disconnect, a little bit of disarray here. So I think for many of you that are Pisces Sun, the opportunity is to walk away from not from the challenge, but from the waste of time conversation that might be here, and focus instead on the Five of Wands, finishing the task, and then ultimately moving on. It's time to move on. So I definitely get, you got the Tower coming through too on how to have some fun or make the necessary changes. So I feel like that's one of the things to focus on, is changing the environment, changing your mind, changing something up. And that can also be a change of mind. So don't be afraid to do that. But yeah, it's time to move past this, and don't waste your time on something that isn't worth it. Okay. Sun sign, of course, the sign that you're born under. It's kind of also the default energy when we're looking at any particular sign. So let's focus now on rising or ascendant. Now, this is how you're projecting yourself to the world. It's not necessarily who you are, but it is how you want to be perceived and also how you are being perceived. It's pretty good this month. We have the Strength card. I love this Strength card. We have this cute little fox, and what's cool about the fox actually is it's a wild animal. You can't domesticate it. It needs to sort of like go its own way, right? But we see this sort of lovely partnership that's coming through. So for work partnerships right now, I actually feel like the weirdest combinations could actually be very good. So someone that you normally wouldn't feel like I can work with them, you're going to find a way to, almost like the Moon card that we talked about earlier, find the middle ground, and that's going to be your power. And this Strength card is not about domination. It is about celebration. So this is wisdom, and this is sort of that sort of unwieldy sort of energy. And then you may be coming through with the more solid or traditional approach. So whichever side of the equation that you're on, complementary energy could be really important to your success this month. Looking at Strength just as a card, taking the partnership out of it, it's one of the best that could come through for rising or ascendant. People are going to look at you and think they know who they are, and I respect that person. There's a strength or a value, and that's what leads to the Ace of Pentacles in the environment. So it's really good for business, for work, and also for projecting power in relationships, because they're still kind of out there in the ascendant. But this could be like your family or extended family, sort of like other relationships, not just love. You're showing up as strong. So keep working on that. The projection's there. Do you believe it? Do you believe what you're projecting? If you can believe that, then the Strength card is unstoppable. Okay? Good message for rising or ascendant. Let's take a look at Moon. Moon is the part of yourself that you don't always show to others. It can be your hopes, it can be your fears, it can be your dreams, it can be where your power is. And that is actually what's coming through here. We have the Empress card. What a great card for Moon. So you definitely have what it takes to do whatever your heart desires. You're coming through as nurturing, strong, wise. We see the clock behind her, so there is a sort of timely nature about this. And I've been getting that the whole reading for you, Pisces. If not now, then when? There's a call to action. So I feel like, especially for the Moon signs, if there's something that you're dreaming about, that you're wanting to do, this is the time for you to really do it and do a great job at it. And we have lots and lots of partnerships that came through, the Emperor and the Empress, in a couple of pages. So I feel like you're not alone unless you want to be alone. And that's really your choice on this, because it can be kind of read either way on that. So just to kind of look at all three together, if we're telling the story of Pisces rather, I want you to be careful of wasting time and energy in unnecessary competitions or conversations, since we got both of the fives. know your strength, know others, and know that there's actually a beautiful collaboration and complementary energy that's coming through. And you have this sort of leadership potential. And we see that there is a sort of procession here from not wasting time to realizing that sometimes partnerships can be beneficial. And then at the end of the day, you're your own boss and you can take or leave whatever option comes on the table. It's a nice sort of like stepping process there as we look at all three. All right, before we get into the meditation, just a couple of quick notes. If you've enjoyed this so far, please subscribe. It's free, costs nothing, helps the channel. And again, once I hit the next milestone, about 3,000 away or so, 4,000 away, I will do a Q&A. So I'm going to start to do those more frequently just to kind of encourage subscriptions. So thank you. Join me on social media if you haven't already, just for reminders of upcoming videos. And a reminder that you can, again, show a little bit of love and support if you've enjoyed this. If you're watching live, you can do it with a super sticker or super chat, and you can also become a member, or you can hit the thanks button when it's on replay. All right, let's get ready for meditation. There's two things that we're going to do. We're going to meditate, but as a thank you for those who stick around for the meditation, I'll answer a question that you have. And I always see questions pop up here in the chat, so this is the chance to get ready for that. Write it down or just think about it while we're meditating. And we're going to focus today on kind of like coming back. I want to kind of be like this rose bush that's coming from winter to spring. So rebirth, I guess, is what we're going to do. We're going to focus on rebirth, regrowth, and bouncing back. And that's going to be our meditation. Okay, so close your eyes. And I'm just going to choose whatever instrument I want so that we can focus on this meditation. So take a nice deep breath and inhale. On the exhale, relax your shoulders, relax your neck, relax your back, and just sink into your chair or sink into the bed, wherever you're at right now, and allow my voice to be your guide, and just allow your thoughts to be light, and allow for this to be a nice little journey here. So imagining that it is spring, that the last snowstorm has happened, that the ground is starting to warm up, that green grass is starting to paint the hillsides and the mountains, and the beautiful wildflowers are starting to grow. See yourself now represented by this rose bush that we saw just a few moments ago. And we saw the three different states as we were looking at it. The one that represented fall or winter, the one that represented spring, which we'll be looking at in just a moment, and then ultimately the fruit of that labor, the summer that's coming through. So see yourself as just like the trees above you, this rose bush that's starting to come back to life. You can see these beautiful green buds pushing through the bark, and you start to feel this energy that all I have to do is reach a little bit. Let's see what happens. And as you reach, just like this bud, this new leaf that's forming, it's being held up, it's being supported by the sunlight, and it's being nourished. So your dreams will be nourished. You're going to nourish them. It's a sort of cooperative energy. And when you value and nourish them, other people get curious and they nourish them too. Focus on this rose bush and now imagine that all over, all these buds are pushing through and there's green growth. And this isn't just a typical rose, this is one that can climb. So imagine now that you are starting to reach out like a vine and you're climbing up. You can imagine even that this is like Jack and the Beanstalk style, where it's a rose bush that can reach up to the highest levels of the firmament. And now see the beautiful blossoms coming through. They can be any color you want. Tangerine, yellow, red, beautiful purples, who cares? Whatever color you want to see come through on the roses, see them starting to blossom now. And set the intention right now that my dreams are possible. I'm going to invest in myself. I'm worth this. Joy is something that I deserve. So I'm ready for love, happiness, and abundance in the highest forms, in other words. Focus on looking at the blossoms, smelling the blossoms, and realizing that you are on the precipice of big change and big growth, and just surrendering to that. Relax, I'm going to play the singing bowl for a few moments, and then we'll come back afterwards and focus on your final question. All right, take a last deep breath and imagine that you could take one of these roses and pull them into your heart center and choose to love yourself. Love yourself for who you are. Love yourself for who you are becoming, and also love all of the other pieces of your life that you wish that you could change. Everything brought you to today, which is giving you the power and the potential to do what you want. Now focus on the final question that you have for me. Open your eyes if you haven't already, and hold this question to yourself. Just ask it out loud. Think whatever it is that you need to get sort of clarity on, and let me shuffle the cards and see what wants to come through. Well, it's a yes. It's a great card. It's the Ten of Cups. There's pretty much nothing negative that I can say about the Ten of Cups, particularly when it's in the upright position. So as a yes-no, it's a yes. The other thing that I would say here is that there's a priority with this card, typically with friends, family, community, and there's an emphasis on love and relationships. For some of you, the love and relationships could be taking up a lot of your mental space here, mental real estate. We see like the two volcanoes and all these little cups around his head. So the one thing that I would say is everything in moderation, including sort of just having fun or putting a lot of time and energy into the relationships. Don't forget about you. But the most powerful thing here is that you're not alone. For those of you that feel alone or feel disconnected, this is about making time and space and making it also a priority to grow your network. So it doesn't overnight sort of like happen. And for those of you that maybe have been, it's kind of like a garden and you haven't taken care of it. Weeds grow, certain plants no longer are there, but the ones that are, you can put energy into. So imagine that you're a cosmic gardener here with your relationships. You're going to go back and sort it out and think, is there still a connection here? Can I help this? Do I need to prune this one? And really kind of tend to your emotional and relationship garden, if you will. And it can become rich and beautiful again too. But it is a priority thing and it is an investment thing, okay? But generally speaking, it's a yes. It portends good things for relationships. It portends good things for love. And that's that. It's a good card. I'm not going to overthink it. Okay, great. We see again the wisdom and the dream sort of represented by the sheep and the fox on this as well, okay? The only thing that I'm paying attention to in the background is the sort of plumes of smoke coming up from the volcano. So for some of you, there could just be that energy of this is change and it's happening fast. And we see the rose coming through one more time in the background. And that reminds me of change because one of the first times we saw it was with the card here of death. So sometimes when change happens, it happens faster than you think. And you think, can I do this? Am I ready for it? But the answer is yes. You just have to kind of surrender to it. Thank you to everybody who joined today. We're going to be looking at anyone that gave back, and I'll be saying thanks here in just a moment. You can still subscribe if you haven't already, and also like. I forget to say that sometimes. Please like. It helps the algorithm, and I know that every creator asks for it, but if YouTube didn't value it, we wouldn't have to. I hope to see some of you on other social media platforms. I'll be saying thanks here in just a moment. I already put the Sunday Collective video up, so you can set a reminder. You can also see the upcoming videos for next month once I announce it on Monday probably. Monday I'm going to do a special video as well where it's a bonus video and it's going to be TBD. I'll decide what we're going to do. So keep an eye on that over the next couple of days. All right, so let's focus on saying thanks right now. I'm going to start off first by just acknowledging that I see a lot of familiar faces here, especially everybody that's a member. Thank you so much for being a part of this. Now I want to say welcome to any brand new members, so give me just a moment here, and I will welcome those folks. So starting with the new members, anyone that's just joined in the past day or so, thank you to Kit F, to Janine Walker, to Holly Euler, Michelle Millis, Maria Sams, Trisha Aguirre, Carrie Hell, Carissa, and I think that's everyone from the last day. So thank you very much to anyone that joined within the past day or rejoined. And now for the folks who gave a super sticker or super chat, give me just a moment and I will acknowledge that. All right, let's go to the beginning for today. Kicking things off, we have Jean S., thank you so much. Dark Star Alchemy, CC Panda Bear, Yvette Sanchez, Jules in July, and Isabella. And I think there was one last one. Yeah, it was Isabella. Thank you so much. I hope you enjoyed today's reading. I'm so happy we didn't have to deal with construction noises. The time will eventually change back, but it's going to take a while. I'm still looking for a new place. I think the unit above me, the construction is supposed to be done in the middle of next month. So even if I'm still in this apartment for like another month in July, I should be able to go back to regular time then. But we'll see. I have to just wait and see. We'll figure it out next month. It's kind of up in the air. So thank you so much for being patient as I deal with eventually moving here. Lots of love and light to all of you from both Apollo, who is saying, Dad, we should be in bed. So from Apollo and I, lots of love and light, and I'll see you again on Sunday. Hope to have you join me. Same time, even the weekend. I'm keeping it early because they do construction on the weekends. All right, take care. Bye-bye.